Video game tutorials are designed for one thing, to simply and straightforwardly explain the game mechanics to the player. They're meant to be very easy, quick to get through, and for the most part they hold the player's hand to get you into the game. Perhaps some pop-up explanations or sometimes even a narrator to explain the game mechanics. But what happens when the game does just the opposite? When a game instead presents the tutorial not as a way to teach you the game, but as a way to test to see if you're good enough to play it. A tutorial that is so infamously challenging that some people say it turned them off the game entirely, either because they were expecting the whole game to be that hard, or in some cases because they couldn't even get through the tutorial. For this, we go back to the PlayStation 1 and the incredibly popular driving game, Driver. The game starts with you having to prove yourself to gang members that you're worthy of being a getaway driver, and for this the game drops you in a parking garage and gives you a list of tasks to accomplish. This is supposed to serve as the tutorial of the game, letting players become familiar with the driving mechanics, as well as some advanced moves that they can do during missions. But the game also doesn't actually tell you what it wants you to do, merely giving you a list of words that you have to figure out. And sure, handbrake and lap might be obvious, but others like burnout or slalom aren't explained or even put into the game's booklet. And with the PlayStation 1 skewing primarily towards younger players at the time, they probably didn't have enough experience to understand the minimalist instructions. To make things worse, the game gives you an aggressively short time limit of 60 seconds, and a hard limit of 4 times you can hit the wall or other cards before you fail the tutorial. So what all this leads to is a tutorial that's harder than the entire rest of the game. Driver has a few difficult missions later on, but none of them are as challenging as the very first thing you have to do just to play the rest of the game. Rather than ease you in, it instead acts as a barrier to the game, and that's exactly what happened. There are numerous players who commented that it took them weeks, if not months, to get past this tutorial, and in fact, some of them simply never did, leaving them with $50 spent on a challenge too high for them to overcome. So of course the question is, why? Why make a tutorial so unnecessarily difficult that it potentially locks out the entire game to players? Well, it's not that simple. Martin Edmondson, the creator of the Driver series, revealed in a 2021 interview that the tutorial level was based on a movie called, well, The Driver. It was the first movie that Martin ever saw in theaters, and featured a scene in which the getaway driver has to prove themselves in an underground car park. In fact, there are numerous similarities between the movie and the game. But more importantly, why the high difficulty? Well, that may have not been on purpose. Martin says that when he developed it, he could do the whole thing in only 25 seconds. That's quite the time. In fact, it's about the same time as the current world record holder for driver speedrunning, Viper UK. So that 25 seconds may come with a few asterisks. Martin's familiarity with what the game wanted him to do, coupled with having intimate knowledge of the controls due to being the one who actually made them. So it's possible he never intended the tutorial to be difficult, but simply didn't account for the majority of players who weren't nearly as familiar with the driver as he was. Even with the issues of the tutorial, Driver went on to be a best-selling PS1 game, and spawned an entire franchise with numerous well-received games. But it's fascinating to look back and realize that it all started with one of the highest barriers for entry in gaming history, a tutorial that isn't there to teach you how to play the game, but prove yourself worthy to play it. And that is your Retro Rapidfire. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to see more videos 2 times a week from Game Boy Roulette, Dollar Store Gaming, 10 Things You Missed, and much, much more. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.